We are checking sound.
Testing for the volume, Lew.
Testing. 1, 2,
1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 2.
2. Okay, let's see what that is.
Funny that would get flipped.
It is. Oh, we're not flipped. It actually mirrors it back. Hey, welcome to yet another episode of the CapmLew podcast, mobile version.
Oh, yes.
This is my first official mobile cast, taking full opportunity of my friend Todd Redding's enthusiasm and great contribution. We are doing mobile casting here. Are we allowed to tell them? Are we in a secret location?
Well, you know, some people call. Yes, we can let it out, Lew. We can let it out.
Right.
It's okay.
Or tell them where we are.
We are in the worldwide headquarters of Solution Roofing and Riverview Heating and Cooling.
Riverview Heating and Cooling and Solution Roofing worldwide headquarters. That's where we are. A lot of my audience. Wait. Okay, first of all, I don't have a lot of audience.
We're going to get one, though, Lew. We're going to build this bad boy.
I think we're builders. Folks in my audience who follow me from skateboarding will see some of this content. I mean, motorcycles, that's cool. But projecting into the podosphere from an office, but this is where a bunch of my time and energy go out into the world. I'm the erstwhile production manager for this company. Isn't that what I am?
Yes, and we're not a traditional space. We have a smoker. We smoke brisket. We have a deck. We hang out on the deck.
Straight to the good stuff.
We drink a lot of Fresca here.
Fresca is the drink of choice, stocked in the fridge,
yes.
And even more stocked in the closet.
We will not run out of Fresca.
There's a human man-sized volume of Fresca bottles in the cubby because of Costco. Is that where you get it?
No, I get it at Kroger. It's the only place I can find it, really.
I love it. And everyone that comes in for a meeting, whether it's a customer or a supplier or someone who's interviewing for a job, they love that Fresca, bro.
Dude, well, you mentioned Fresca. The light goes off. Mm-hmm. Think about the last two people we've hired. You've got Fresca?
You got Fresca?
Oh my gosh. We even sent pictures to one of their wives, and she's like,
we're like,
you got to work for them.
That was a test. You passed. So we just hired a sales guy yesterday.
We did.
We are looking here at Solution Roofing. We're looking for, so you've got Riverview Heating and Cooling, HVAC.
Yes.
Do the guys in HVAC refer to it as HVAC or HVAC?
Usually just HVAC.
HVAC. So Riverview does, I mean, the product line you install, I've heard heat pumps. You do those?
We do heat pumps. We do furnaces, air conditioning. We do what's called light commercial, which would be rooftop units on smaller buildings. We do boilers. We kind of do it all. We do duct work. We're one of the few out there that are still independently owned, and we kind of have a huge breadth of service. It keeps us going. We stay busy. It's not crazy, but steady.
It is a cool business to be neighbored up with. I have a buddy who works for Riverview, and it's been challenging because he's had to learn HVAC. But he's done it, and he's beginning. He's at that point where he's starting to have a blast.
Yep, he's good at it. It's a difficult industry.
Is he faster now? Still needs to get faster.
We're working on that. But he's very thorough.
He is thorough.
Very thorough.
Conscientious.
We just need to add a little speed to his world. But the difficult part of HVAC for the skaters and motorcycle players out there who maybe don't deal in this world is you need to know plumbing, because we deal with a lot of gas lines. You need to know electrical. We do a lot of real electric stuff. We run a lot of wires. And you need to know HVAC. So it's not just one thing. You need to know a lot of things, and they all go together. It's a combination lock with HVAC, and it's a difficult position. But once you get it, you can do well in it.
I dig it. I'm intimidated by the thought of being thrown into it. I have another buddy who does he welds stainless steel hoods.
Okay. Commercial.
He does commercial Okay, so that's commercial. I don't even know the terminology
That is a
for that.
different world. I do not dabble in that world. That's
Yeah,
very specialized.
and he is high output, high dollar, amazing craft. He knows the electrical, he knows the plumbing, he knows the welding.
Yep.
The guy has got a serious skill set and a wealth of experience. And having been with him in some buildings he's working on, I was working adjacent to him when I was on a retail maintenance gig. We were replacing ceiling tiles in a Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, jeez.
The ceilings were 13 feet high. All the tiles were black. And as we were working on our side, he was in the restaurant next door. And his job was he was doing some repair that included welding on a hood. Maybe it wasn't the installation of a hood, it was maybe the repair or the changing up to code. And we got shut down on ours because it turns out the previous ceiling replacement was accomplished by pushing the tiles up and scooting them over onto the new tiles they had put in. So you had
you had tile layers.
you had 2 layers of tiles up there on every surface, and some places 3, because previous simple replacements had been laid aside before that. So we were lifting up tiles to replace that. Plus,
Wow.
somewhere the lines got crossed, and this is what it's like doing retail maintenance. The lines got crossed, and the the customers were coming in, and we weren't doing a full ceiling replacement, but we were replacing like 30 or 40 or 50 of these bad tiles. And that's presuming that the HVAC drainage issues that were ruining the tiles in the first place had been addressed, which they hadn't, as was well evidenced by not only the moisture, but the weight
Oh,
of the 2 previous ceiling layers that were
not
up there.
just
It
the
was
way.
nuts,
I'm
dude.
surprised because it's by frame. We have a drop ceiling in this building,
Hmm.
and they're not meant to handle more than one tile.
No,
This is not heavy duty framing. This
no,
is literally you're dropping a small tile.
it's only wire twist
Yep.
that's holding the very light weight of a drop ceiling. And man, I mean, we were now my boss for that. I won't say his name because I don't know if he wants to be publicized on the pod webs, but he um, he was so good at dealing with those situations. I mean, it was a situation that for me personally, um, I get emotional about, like,
Tiles.
a ton of
I mean,
no,
come on, Lew.
I get emotional
Not
about
tiles.
bullshit.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, where this is our work day. We accomplish the work, we get paid. We don't accomplish the work, I don't know what happens.
Yep.
Okay, that gets me feisty, and you've seen me in feisty mode. And I
By the
get
way, when Lew's in feisty mode, we call him New York Lew.
New York Lew has come to
Yes.
visit.
When New York Lew comes out, beware.
It happens. Those who know me best have seen it. It's not like full blown like abusive,
Oh no.
but it's direct.
You definitely turn up the knob.
I become animated.
Yes. And for those that know Lew, it's a completely different side of Lew that we don't usually see because he is
Is it
very zen-like.
Is it unpleasant?
No,
You've actually invoked
if you
New York Lew.
if you recall the first couple times we met Lew,
Oh my God!
I got it. I'm like, Lew, this is not gonna work. You got it.
Dude.
We've got to ratchet you up to take care of the situation we were dealing with.
That's funny because I was looking at when we first met. The reason I laughed so hard is because I remember I behaved in ways that were coming from. I was very frustrated about some overarching stuff in my life.
Yes.
I had had a series of really crappy jobs, and I had a series of crappy job relationships. And what you probably didn't know, and probably haven't till now, is I had recognized that it was extremely important for me to mind my boundaries and mind the way that I allow people to treat, to speak to me, to handle me. that I make sure that people get the prickly side if they start pushing on some of those boundaries, because I had been in work relationships where um, I really gave a lot of white underbelly to some behavior that I would never have tolerated in a professional atmosphere.
Okay.
And I wanted my work in roofing, since so freaking dangerous. It's
It
got
is.
all kinds of problems. I didn't want to be unclear with people about basically just being respectful. But I was overcompensating. I was not in. I was well. Also, I did. But there was this one time when
Overcompensating.
Todd Todd uh, we were at a site. We were on a job. It was an investment property, and we were flat roofing. And I was going to be fabricating some of the metal
Yep.
on that roof. And as I was digesting the scope, we were we were talking about my fit, and which, by the way, I'm going to switch to khaki pants. I'm going to begin to shift away from blue jeans at the job site to khaki pants at the job site, which I had offered to do from the start. But see, but I heard Aaron talking to the candidate yesterday, and I thought, you know what, I have enough pairs I've collected up that I can run khakis. They get dirty real easily. They don't look
They
great
do, and you
dirty.
don't need to. It's more of wearing something besides jeans. I mean, you can wear a work pant. They
Yeah,
make gray work pants that are stay a little bit cleaner. Um,
theoretically.
yeah, but that's one of the things that Aaron came in the other day and said, I need to look better. I said the one thing,
Mm-hmm.
a couple things you need to do every day as an owner of a company is one, you need to look the part.
Crisp.
And looking
Yeah.
the part doesn't mean you come, we're in the construction field. Don't show up in a suit,
Mm-hmm.
but you still need to show up in decent work boots, khakis, and a collared shirt. And
Mm-hmm.
it all has to be branded. So we are I'm very particular on branding. I want to make sure our colors are right, our logos are right.
I love that crap.
So our trucks, we just branded another one of our vans. I think it looks phenomenal.
It's it's the best. I mean, a van is a perfect sign, and our logo and the way that the graphic artist took the logo that we made, which is a great logo, you know, um, because it applies anyway. The logo is good, but they dressed out the logo on the van. It's on Facebook. You guys can see it. But so in the middle of all this entrepreneurial stuff, which is one reason I love talking to you. So anyway, Todd was commenting on my fit, and he touched my shoulders. And I don't know if you even remember it, but I basically said something like, "We are not touching Lew." One of those things. Do you remember what I did? Do you
I can't.
remember
Oh
it?
my! I remember vaguely now. Yes,
It was important to me that
clearly it was important because you still have it's
I went
held with
away.
you.
I went away from it kind of smarting, because I was like, we had been invoking we had had a job or two where New York Lew was needed on site, and they were early in my career, so I was very reluctant to flex, on people, because I was still learning, learning so many things about how a roofing job goes. But because I've seen in the skate park building industry, crews walk.
Oh yeah.
The crews walk. It's so funny because you'll be like 10% as mean to them as you should be, and they just walk.
A lot of pre-bananas out there.
Aaron and I were on a job site one time, and I said, "This crew is not getting it done. I'm about to crack a whip on them." I said, "But I need to know what happens if they walk." And Aaron was like, "Dude, let me make some calls." And he came back in 20 minutes. He said, "I have 4 more crews ready. Line them up." And so I got to crack the whip nice and hard on them. But happily, we've fallen in with some of the best installers in the industry, hands
We're
down.
doing really well. So
These guys are great, and
well,
we
let's
get
get
along really
back
well.
to so we can finish your story. So I touched your shoulders.
Yeah, you were commenting on how my oversized hoodie,
Oh,
because I
okay.
dress real frumpy,
Yes.
and I, I'm beginning to remember it, but I was like, that's because you were saying, why do you wear like a double XL hoodie? It was cold, and I was wearing one of my hoodies I use for motorcycling, and I was like, okay, bro. I'll break it down to you. You remember this? I said, it's base layer, t-shirt, first flannel, hoodie, second flannel, leathers.
Okay.
And
Can we even stand up after we put all that stuff
you're not standing
on?
up. You're sitting.
Oh
You're
my
sitting
God.
on a Harley, and it's 38 degrees for the next 3 hours at 70 miles an hour, and you're managing frostbite on your hands. That's your limiting factor.
Yes.
Once you get cold, it's hard to get warm. So this hoodie, I remember we were talking about how we were going to get our uniform stuff going, but this hoodie is reminiscent of and part of how I rock it. And I mean, it's Saturday today, so I'm off, but uh, I wear worn blue jeans, brown boots, uniform shirt on the site. That's been my normal way of being. Aaron's been enthusiastic about it because I relate to the contractors and they're all blue jean guys. And then Aaron rolls up to the site, or you roll up to the site, and you guys are a notch higher than the on site. But I always loved back in the 90s when I worked for a general contractor. I loved that this guy wore um, the old Dickies tan pants. They're
Yeah.
they're a lighter grade now, but he wore the heavy grade Dickies tan pants, and they always had, because they were made of like gabardine or something. Remember that fabric?
Oh yes.
So thick, and they had a gusseted crotch. I remember they had the diamond shaped piece of fabric in the crotch, so you could Chuck Norris your way out of something. They
I'm
were
a
so cool.
there's some and just
But
not that I endorse them, but
I
I
loved
wear a
his
lot of
style.
pants from Duluth.
Yeah, Duluth.
Duluth makes this thing called fire hose pants.
I've
It's supposed to be like made out of fire hose material, but they're
I
almost
have a pair.
indestructible.
I have a pair,
And if you
and
get them dirty, they basically almost wipe off.
I
They
have
are
not
great
found.
pants.
Have you owned a pair?
Oh yeah,
I've owned a pair,
I love
and
them.
I don't know what happened because they faded. They lost a brown pair. They lost color. They faded. They did have a guts. They do have a gusseted crotch, but
Yeah,
they were.
I don't know which one because I've only worn their fire hose pants.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to spend some time.
And they're not inexpensive, but you can find them on sale. As you know me, Lou, it's
Mm-hmm,
got to be on sale.
mm-hmm. You
But
go find out what your size is, and then you start looking.
but I think they're great pants. I will say from now on, I've been buying my pants from Costco.
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying $14 pants because they still look the same and nobody knows the difference. And if I ruin them, I don't care.
So that's a high caliber entrepreneur. In my book, Todd is high caliber. That's an entrepreneur who starts businesses. By the way, Todd, you run an HVAC business. What's your lifelong involvement with the craft of HVAC? Where'd you get your degree?
I don't have one, Lou.
There it is. See, this is the high dollar entrepreneur who goes, you know what? HVAC's great. You basically how did you pick HVAC? Because you're running a great company and you don't have a background in HVAC. Talk about that. Because I think it's legit.
Well, I to be candid, I looked at the numbers and said, okay, I think this business can make money.
Mm-hmm.
Knew nothing about it. I went out and I got a shirt embroidered, a hat embroidered. Found a guy that could install stuff for me, and I had a Honda minivan at the time. And so I started doing some marketing just around. I would show up at your house, park my van around the corner so you didn't see what I pulled up in because it was literally an old Honda minivan.
So cool, dude.
And then I would go to your front door, and I'm in your basement, and I literally had to call my installer and ask him what I was looking at.
Video chat or just call?
Call, video chat, talk to him because I'm like, what is this? How do I find it? I knew nothing about it. So then I just started selling them, and we took off, and we've done extremely well. We've broken records, and
it is. But let me get this straight. So this is what this podcast is about. All of my Toddcasting is an exploration of what I consider to be. This is a great opportunity to sit with a person. How do you feel about the term entrepreneur?
I've been called.
It's a little overused.
Maybe. It is. I've been called a serial entrepreneur. I've started many companies, from the real estate world, to HVAC, to roofing, to other businesses. So it just all sort of, to me, it's when you find the right people, the right opportunity, you take advantage of it, and you just got to find out how to do it. You were here yesterday, and you heard how we started Solution, right?
Oh, I watched that breakout from day one because when you and Aaron met, Aaron came straight to me and said, "Man," because my son Aaron uh, was working for another roofing
Yes, he
company,
was.
and I don't think that they were sufficiently supporting him for the contribution he was bringing to them.
They were
How'd I do?
that. That's the nice Zen Lew way to put it. Yes, not the
That's
New York Lew way to put
not.
that.
I didn't
No,
New York Lew it.
no.
Never got in that zone over
Yeah,
that because Aaron was handling his boundaries. He put a what? How long was it between the time you guys first started to jam and you started a
I
company
believe it was
together?
6 months. Pretty good, between 4 and 6 months, because the trade show was in January,
Hmm.
and we started our official, I think, data solution was June.
Hmm. That that period was a period during which, and before that, Aaron had been told by he's got a good grip of businessmen.
He's got a good network.
He does. He has a good network of businessmen who know him, have known him for
Yep.
years. They've watched him. They've seen him in ministry. Aaron's involved in Christian ministry stuff, and he's part of a big church community. And he knows guys who are outside of that through doing so much sales for different companies and things like that. And I've known since Aaron was little that he would be a, a great person in business, way better than I don't have the makeup. Although I feel like being involved here has been developing me. I really do. It's been opening my eyes to see potential in a different light,
Well,
and it's changed where my dials are. I wouldn't settle now for some of the things I've been involved with before.
I'm glad to hear that, because
Yeah,
we have really tried to include you in a lot of the decisions.
it's been
You know,
amazing.
we really run this. Community is not such a great word, but we get input from many factors before we make a decision. It's not we're not run like, okay, me or Aaron say, okay, we're going to do that, and we just get in line. It doesn't work that way. We talk it through. We say, hey, is that the best decision for the company? And sometimes you need another voice. So we'll ask you, hey, what are your thoughts? Especially when we hire people, the the more input you can get, hopefully the better you're going to be.
It's it's a cool learning curve. So now you said you could be called a serial entrepreneur, and then you listed off like a what one might call a bevy of interests you've been involved with before. And we talked about your dad. We, in our
Yeah.
previous podcasts, we've talked about how you grew up. You directly you grew up with a direct relationship between work, income, and life quality. That was
Yes.
established from your youth.
Absolutely.
And we contrasted that with, and it's not a criticism of my parents, but my parents had a different style. It was go to college. That was the key that would unlock all the doors. Study now, work later was the way my parents organized my life. I I wouldn't I wouldn't be comfortable with the terminology of that having done me a disservice. Um, but it is not it is not it did not equip me with a forward moving, engaged disposition toward all I knew to do when I was young, find someone to work for. Get a wage, find someone to work for. I didn't have that. Need money? Go make some. I didn't have that.
But again, we're not all the same. We're not all built the same. We're not all. I am very. I am not risk adverse. I take a lot of risks in my life. Some people just they can't stomach it. They can't sleep. They can't eat. I really, because I believe in myself. I believe in the people I surround myself with, that we're going to make it. And that's just what it is. And when you look up, and all of a sudden you're running multiple $1 million businesses, and you're like, oh, okay, that's good. What do we do next?
I
Because
mean,
I don't really think about it. I don't run around and I don't put billboards up. It's not, you know me well enough. I mean, I don't
you're shopping
spend
at Costco and you're wearing $14
I
pants. I
don't
love it.
I don't spend a lot of money on anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't do it. But I can teach anyone, I believe, how to make it on their own. That's why I love bringing in new salespeople. We can teach them how to change their lives, and that's part of being successful is you've got to, again, we keep bringing up these kind of just worn out stuff, but it's that pay it forward. And I don't think, I'm hopeful it can never get worn out, but it's truly what we do is when Aaron and I bring someone in, or I brought someone in the HVAC world, I am really trying to help them pay it forward and give them a lifestyle that they never thought they could have. But I'm
I
not,
see that.
but when I say give them the lifestyle, I'm not handing it to them. I'm teaching them how to do it. It's that, again, teach them how to fish, don't catch the fish, right? I know there's however that's said. I know
Yeah.
it's in that book you love, the Bible, right? Teach them how to fish,
That's
or
not in there.
it's no, that's
No. Give
where'd
a
that
man a
come from
fish, you
then?
feed him for a
Yeah,
day.
who
Teach
said
a man
that
to
then?
fish, you feed him for a lifetime. It's just a parable. I think it's African in nature.
Hey, wherever that came from.
But Christianity was in Africa before it was in the West anyway. So,
So who knows? But
saying.
I am a firm believer in that. You called it a parable?
It's a what would you call a proverb?
Proverb?
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not
a
sure what,
proverb.
I don't
That's
know
what
what you call it. Maybe it's a Chinese proverb. Who knows?
literally, you know.
But that to me is what we do. We bring people in and we sit down with them. We ask them what their goals in life are. What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to leave behind? What do you want for your family? What do you want for your future?
Man,
And we can craft that for them and give them an opportunity to really live their best life.
yeah.
And teach them how to do it.
I see well put together work trucks in this parking lot that contain the tools to accomplish the jobs. And I see people who represent families. And you even have a husband and wife team
Yeah,
that work.
absolutely. They're phenomenal. I love
They
them.
are phenomenal. They have impressed the heck out of me. Literally plug and play. Here's where the job is, and they just get it done. So you're putting tools in trucks, but you're also putting tools in people, and equipping people to do what they want to do. You're asking, what do you want to do? I saw you guys do it yesterday. We were sitting with a sales candidate, and the question crossed the plate: what do you want? And the sales candidate was, I thought it was exemplary of where a lot of people are. The sales candidate was saying something along the lines of, well, I don't know, dude, I just want to be making, I think it was about $4,000 a month. It's a full family with a house
Yeah.
and kids and like that. And he's like, dude, if I can clear $4,000 a month, I'll be fine. And at that point it was a yellow flag, because I even know by now that a person who wants $4,000 a month, it's a lot better if a person says, well, I'll tell you what I really want. I want to run 12,000 months, at least 6 months of the year. And I want my low months, I want $2,000 months, and my other months I want to be $6,000 months. So that would, to me, that would ring from a salesperson. That would ring really well. And I think that's still really moderate, really moderate,
And I don't want people to think that there's, money's an important part of life, and we still need to talk about it.
It's a tool.
Because there are a lot of people that sometimes get embarrassed, or they don't want to talk about it. But we're not talking. For this gentleman, we really, the one we brought on board, if he follows our program, we're going to change his life. And I don't think that's BS, Lou. You've seen
It's
it in
not.
action. You've
And-
seen what we can do.
No,
I can teach this guy how to make 6 figures a year, and his life is going to be exponentially better. But not because I did it, it's because we taught him how to do it.
we gave him
And
the tools.
And he is going to have such a high self-esteem. He's going to have such a great self-worth that's going to radiate to his kids and his family and his neighbors and his church community. And he's going to then become a beacon of, you know what, anybody and everybody can do this. And I'm still a firm believer. And again, sometimes we talk controversy, but the American dream to me is still, there's no other country you can go and start a company from scratch. That's what I've done. I mean, nobody gave me things. I started these from scratch and became successful. And now we're able to pass that on to someone else.
I really think we should dwell on that for a moment, because I've spent time in France, and I'm familiar with what it's like to try to start a business in Italy. I'm familiar with what it's like to try to start a business in Portugal. I'm somewhat familiar with countries like Panama, Brazil, Venezuela, what you said is more true than I think most Americans can appreciate. Most Americans feel it's easy to feel like a victim of circumstance. It's easy to have a mindset where you wake up in the morning and life is just happening to you and you're in a reactive headspace rather than uh, waking up in the morning and setting goals, trimming the goals in, like the sails on a boat,
Mm-hmm.
getting the sails set correctly to the wind will determine your course and your speed. And as you're going, you're going to get better at sailing, you're going to trim better. And as the winds change, you're going to have to get better at adjusting them. But that headspace, a lot of folks that I know in America, where I live, in Ohio specifically, um, we just don't have a mentality that we are the captain of this ship and that if we put in some work on our rigging, that we're going to go further, faster, and better. And, and so we got a lot of people who just kind of wave their hand at the sails and say, well, I guess we're just going to go wherever the wind takes us. And do they get anywhere? Yeah, they get somewhere. They get somewhere. They find port somewhere.
So what is the term for that? Drifting, right? They're just drifting,
Coasting.
coasting,
Mm-hmm.
drifting. I can't do that. But and that must be, there are certain people. Your son is one. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, your son and I work. If we needed to work 7 days a week, we're working 7 days a week. But we
Mm-hmm.
also have fun. We were out last night hanging out together,
Love
and
it.
we can still hang out and have a good time. And again, as I said, we laugh, but we smoke briskets and we have parties, and we still enjoy what we're doing. But we're able to give back, and we're able just to, I don't know. I get all fired up about this, Lou.
Well, we should.
It gets the blood flowing because I
That's
think there's so many people in this world that have given up because they think the world is just crushing them,
is
and
happening to them. Yeah.
it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I live in the same world everybody else does, and you're gonna say, or you're gonna look at me and say, no, you're just an old white man, and you have every privilege known to man. Well, I mean, it's just, and I don't want to go down that road because that can
That's a
kind of
tough. That's a
that
tough
that can get
mindset.
sticky, but I hire the best people. I don't care who they are, and I can teach anyone.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. If you've got the work ethic and you want to better yourself, we can do that for you.
It's a fascinating. I know a young man who started a company, and he landed an account, a really good account, and he was talking to me on the phone and telling me about this account that he landed. It was going to account for 70% of his company's income
Wow.
for the year. And now I knew from my work in skateboarding, which was, again, I was an activist in skateboarding using a business to platform a social and cultural message. It was not entrepreneurial in nature, in disposition. In form it was entrepreneurial, but in disposition I was sticking my thumb in the eye of the ogre that had everyone in its grip,
Yes, but
so
that's your history, as we've talked about in previous
that is.
podcasts.
I've been a
You
guy. I was using a business to poke my finger in the eye
in the
of
bully.
of a bully,
Yes.
and I knew that, and I embraced that as a role in the history of a community that I cared about. Um, and I don't think it was to no effect, and I have a certain satisfaction with how that went. But once I finished that business, I began to look for, like, okay, now I'd like to have an opportunity to have dignified remuneration for respectable labor put in. And I began a journey, first in retail maintenance with an entrepreneur, a dynamic and successful independent entrepreneur who I think you'd really like. This guy's a character. He's a character, and he's built a one-man retail tsunami,
That's
retail
awesome. I
management
love that.
repair tsunami. Goes in, busts it out, fills tickets, gets it done, and he handles it with wisdom. He's got a long view on the whole thing. He knows exactly. He's not a workaholic nut. He's actually got pivots and exit plans. And I love this guy. He's just anyway. I got this phone call from this young person. They had landed a big account, and I knew from my time in skateboarding that anytime I would have Usually it would be a retailer who had multiple multiple outlets, and they'd say, "Oh, I want to buy up 75% of your production capacity. Love your brand, love the quality, love the reputation you're doing. I want to buy up 75% of everything you're doing. We'll give you this much." Um, you have to recognize that. Well, now you're working for one non-keystone volume customer, and you're allowing them to have a percentage leverage on your capacities as a
Yep.
small company, and they're going to use that leverage. It's their job for their families and for their workers to use that leverage to ratchet down that price with each renewal. And I steered clear. I would rather have a lower business volume on higher quality keystone margin customers. So when this young person said to me, "It looks like we're landing this big customer," I said, "Good. Now, while that's still in the decision phase, go get 4 small customers. Go get 4 high quality relationships that are smaller buck but bigger bang, and uh, curb the drunkenness of these numbers with some more grounding possibilities. Because you go get 4 more customers, probably 2 or 3 of them are gonna really actualize, and that'll free you." I said, "That'll free you from even the idea that you cannot pivot. So if this big customer were to fall through or sour, and you had to fire a customer, you wouldn't be firing your staff and your business. Diversify your relationships." And then when that younger person would call me and say, "Oh, we really need another customer," I'd say, "Go get 4. Go get 4. Always be, when you need a new customer, when you need a new account, go get 4." And I really loved. That's where my head was at while I was grinding away in. Uh, I actually had a lovely time working the retail. I became a signage specialist.
Okay.
I did signage installation. It turns out is a big thing, and so I became really good. I and the that dear brother who I was working with, the 2 of us in 7 hours could install an entire store. That was a 2 to 4 day job for a 4-man crew, because we just systematized it. Well, you know how a guy loves that,
I
you
get it.
know,
Absolutely.
and so we did like 72 stores, a huge number of stores. We did. I didn't even feel like it, and the pay was great. The pay was great on those, and but then I began to I began to explore becoming a mechanic. I'd been wrenching on bikes myself
Okay.
for some years, and began to explore becoming a mechanic and saying, "All right, well, what if I open up this skill set? Here's a skill set that theoretically could become a dignified, paid,
Yeah.
remunerated thing." And I thought, what if I go down into a craft alley, a skills alley? I like Mike Rowe's work on the Skills Gap.
I'm not familiar, but is
He's the
that
dirty jobs guy.
Oh, Mike Rowe. Oh, yeah, I know
Yeah,
Mike Rowe. I used to Oh my gosh,
I love his philosophy,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I'm a big believer in the skills
And
gap
he's a big believer
issue.
in trades and
He
learning a
he
skill, and
is,
oh,
and
I am yeah.
no,
You said I thought, yeah, I
yeah,
didn't it didn't click, but
yeah.
yes, I know exactly what
Mike
you're
is
talking about.
is a gem, and I was seeing but because I had picked being a Harley mechanic, that's pretty niche. I didn't want to be a pipeline welder. I couldn't leave my family, but I could theoretically work into, even the dealerships have apprenticeship possibilities. You start washing bikes, and you can wind up in
Yep.
a bay fixing motorcycles, and a ton of the business in Harley is bolt on stuff. Um, like a ton of it is just pull this off, put that on, pull this off, put that on, and I was already good. If you could wire bars, things like that. If you could wire bars and things like that, and become efficient and fast and neat. So I began to explore that. I worked at one place for just 2 weeks, um, and that wasn't terribly disappointing. Got to experience an independent shop where It was just ethically too crazy.
Okay, so that was your choice, the 2 weeks?
It was. I was. Well, the guy laid into me after 2 weeks. That's actually a fun story, but I don't like digressing too far. Well,
All right, all right,
let's do
okay.
this story. When I came to the shop, he's like, "All right, I want to see what you're made of." So he basically brought out a bike. It was the shop show bike. It was this big old lowered bagger with the low bags, extended bags, everything, and it had gotten a paint job, a garish green paint job, and it was apart largely, bags off, everything off it, and he brought me over to it, and he said, "Your job is going to be to put this bike back together." And he pulled over a cart and some boxes, and in the cart and the boxes was all this just nuts and bolts and scattered hardware and all that stuff. He says, "So I want to see what you're made of. So you're going to put this bike back together." I said, "Well, that's fine." And he pulled out big old octopus of wiring, and he laid it onto the frame, and he said, "I want you to put this loom back on it. This is where it goes." And I was having like something between a chuckle and a panic attack as I watched
It's like, oh,
as I watched him holding the fairing harness, which looks like an octopus, laying it on top of the factory loom, which was on the bike, on the frame, declaring that the fairing harness was the factory loom. The bike was wired. That was the fairing harness. It looks like a wiring harness for a Sportster, and he was laying it on there, and I thought, he's messing with me. And I'm not going to go, "Oh, that's the fairing harness." I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be super respectful. Lots of white underbelly, you know, but I'm going to attach that in the fairing where it belongs, right? And but so like he would allow me to work on that bike for a certain number of hours, but I wouldn't be paid. Those wouldn't be paid hours.
wow. Okay.
So I don't know if I'm passing any of his tests, but he sure is failing mine.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. So I'm the first step on any bike in a basket you get is to take all that hardware and table it out. I had some bins and start taking all of that hardware and sorting it and looking at its condition. You're going to want to wire wheel certain stuff and get it clean. You're going to want to put, like that. So I start going through it, and I got the bike uh, reassembled finger tight, and it was bags, fairing. It was all peripheral stuff. I wasn't putting the wheel back on it. I wasn't putting the engine in it, and I got it finger tight. And there were some pretty big fitment issues because it was a custom bike. And I said, "All right, well, and it needed to have a new wiring run, uh, put on it. I extended the wiring for the back of the bike, and I said, all right, well, we've got some fitment issues and some questions. About a week in, maybe 10 days in, I'd put in maybe 6 hours on the bike, and he says, "Did you get it done?" I said, "No, certainly not. No, I've got it finger tight, look done. I got it finger tight. We've got some fitment issues." I said, "How do you want me to hang this loom so that you have to keep it off the tire and all this? What are your favorite ways to do this?" And his favorite way to hang a loom in a wheel next to a wheel was to use stick-on hooks, which is not unheard of, but that's a low quality fixture. But I was listening, and he got really frustrated. He's like, "You only have it finger tight?" I said, "Absolutely. I mean, you don't you don't just lock it all up, And he just laid into me like unprofessional, normal for Harley stuff. He laid into me, and he said, "Well, what do I pay you for? Why am I paying you? Blah 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 blah." And I responded to him, "That is actually a great question. You know what? We should actually dwell on that." Because if you don't feel like you're getting value from me being here, you need to answer that question. And I'm okay with a full inquiry into the value of this. I'd also been involved in several of his fiascos. Like he was a repair fiasco. He had us stack washers instead of building a spacer on an axle. he stacked up washers and sent the customer out with a bike instead of a proper wheel spacer, a stack of washers. And I almost quit that day. That's deadly wrong. And when I was hired, he told me he had a machinist on shop that could cut spacers, and there was on site. There was no on site machinist. So week one, I'm learning there is no on site machinist. He'll stack washers instead of having a proper spacer. This is not working out. Had epoxy floors, multiple lifts, lots of nice tools, a beautiful shop, a beautiful showroom, but that was a terrible place. So at the end of the second week, um, I was also supposed to work 7 days a week, but I had Sunday mornings off for church. So it was 7:30 on a Sunday morning, and I got this text from the guy, this manic series of texts inquiring about the location of something he was missing in the space. It was a Crown Royal bag, you know, those purple
Mm-hmm.
bags. Is Crown Royal brandy? Some sort of drink.
It's alcohol.
It's alcohol. It's like a low class, high class.
Yes, because it
Right.
comes in a purple bag.
All right. Purple velvet bag full of watches. Apparently, the watches are of great value. And he's
So
asking me at 7 something in the morning on a Sunday where this purple bag of watches is. And it's accusatory and manic in nature. so so
you're like, what
so
the? Yeah.
I like entertained the texts, and I was like, all right, look, I do not know where a bag of watches is in your shop, right? And he wound up doing one of these. Well, don't even come in today. So I had other people working there that I knew in the biker community, and they're great people, and it's really fun to work with them. And they were like, dude, that bag of watches goes missing about every year, and he goes nuts about it. And I capitalized on the Crown Royal incident after the what do you mean it's only finger tight, incident, and as well as the several under repairs that I'd seen go through the place, and just fiascos on two repairs in particular in just the first week that were like, wow. Um, and this is a guy who's a master tech, quote unquote, and could teach me everything I didn't know. And I realized it was just not going to work. So I went in on Monday and just let him know I'm picking up my tools. We're done. There's not enough standard operating procedure here. Um, I can tell that you don't even have in place the things you need to evaluate whether I'm good enough. And walked out unscathed.
There you go.
Took my tools and went. But going into the Harley craft after that, and then watching as my son, at that point he was doing sales, he was beginning to kill, he was beginning to go
Yep.
out there and kill and eat. And I went through a couple more shops, and when he was killing it in sales for another roofing company, all due respect given, um, that was when I watched this relationship kick up, and you hadn't hired my other friend yet.
No.
You hadn't hired him yet, but and I wasn't hired yet. I've been here for about a year.
Nope.
A little longer.
Because we had to get some roofs first before we needed
That's
a
right.
production manager. We had to go sell something. So it took a while for us to understand what we wanted to do, what our identity was going to be. I mean, just come up with a name took a while
Mm-hmm.
to figure out what name we wanted.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. So my youngest actually came up with the name
Great
after
name.
a lot of names we went through. And what was interesting about that is your son Aaron's got a lot of guys in the industry he knows, and people were like, "That name's not taken. What do you mean? That's available? Why didn't we think of that one?"
Solution Roofing is a
So
great name, and it was untaken. Unbelievable.
we grabbed it, and the logo. It sometimes the pieces come together,
Mm-hmm.
and they are really coming together. Aaron and I seem to work really well together. It's good because in a nice way, he can be pretty manic. He sometimes has can't stay focused sometimes. So I sit back, keep him focused, give him a task to get done. He'll go knock out the task, and then I'll have to pull him back in
Yep.
and say, okay, that's really not the time for this. But I also and I have to let him make mistakes. A couple people he hired
That's been impressive
I
that you've allowed a lot of
let's just say we
mistakes to
weren't all on
happen.
board, but I
Hmm.
understood why he wanted to do it.
Hmm.
But until he could get it out of his system, he would continue to make that mistake. And now he understands when we hire somebody, it has to be for different reasons what he initially thought they were for.
Yeah, a lot of Aaron's, we'd say his heart
Yes.
um, is to hire from a pool of people that he knows they need the success. That same pool of people consistently hasn't had I don't know if you call it an ethical profile, work ethic, or the
Well, ethics is, it
ethic.
that gets into like, you're gonna kill somebody or steal stuff.
No, that's
It
moral. There's a
that's
difference between
morals and
morality and ethics are different.
okay.
People get this confused a lot.
Well, clearly I
It's
am.
really, well, not very. It's not a value judgment on a person that they have a different ethical combination. But there's a point, and there's a big philosophical debate on where do morals and ethics overlap or meet. We're talking about selling roofs.
Right.
We're not talking about positions on genocides.
No.
No, and but people conflate those things. We're not talking about a person's value as a human being. We're talking about their value in the economy of sales, marketing, landing accounts, landing customers. That is not a it is not a it is not a serious personal deficiency to not excel in selling roofs.
No.
That's not a moral failing. It it is a failing in roofing sales. Like, if you're bad at selling roofs, you shouldn't be a roofing salesman. And we can all tell if someone is good or bad at the craft of selling roofs pretty quickly, about 2 months. And the way you can tell is they haven't landed any sales,
Well,
you know,
well,
or
that
made any
the one thing,
leads, you know.
the one thing about sales is it's a numbers driven game, and you can't hide.
Yeah.
So within the first 30 to 60 days, because again, we've got a plan for you. We'll know if you're working the plan because we know that what we're going to set forth for you to do on a daily basis is going to generate leads and going to generate roofs. We
Hmm.
know that. History states it. We've worked the process ourselves. We know it's doable. You just have to work the plan.
Hmm.
And those that choose not to work the plan or think they're better than the plan or think the plan's beneath them or they've decided, okay, I'm going to work the plan 2 days a week and I'm going to stay at home 3 days a week, it's never going to work. And unfortunately, some of the people we have hired, we tried to change their paradigm
Yep.
and we can't do that. And that's what something Aaron had to learn is you can't change somebody's maybe it's their DNA, maybe it's their again, we could nurture nature, we could talk about that forever too. But they just weren't built to do what we needed them to do. And they're
Yeah.
just not going to be successful in our world. That doesn't mean they couldn't be the best painter in the world, doesn't mean they
Yep.
couldn't be the best something else in the world.
That's right.
They're just not the best at what we do.
It's not a big deal for someone to be bad at something.
No,
Eh,
we're all
the
bad at
But
something.
I'll tell you what's a big deal is wasting time and money that should be going onto the plates of the families that are involved.
Well,
That's where we run into, so
we've had enough conversations about
yeah,
why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? I'll question a lot of things of, okay, if we need a certain tool, go buy the tool.
go buy the
If we
tool.
need something to make it more successful or to be successful, let's do it. And I'm a firm believer in, that definition of insanity, right? You do the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. All I ask from my team in any business that I own is how do we become better every day?
Hmm.
Because I truly believe small successes equal great successes.
Yeah.
And you can't have great successes without the small ones. You've got to build, build, build.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to basics. But what was that? There's that big trend where there was a book or something that said what I learned in kindergarten is
Everything I need to know I learned in kindergarten type of book.
something like
Yeah,
that, right?
right. The simple stuff.
It's the simple stuff, but it really is. One thing we teach is called the KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
It needs to be simple. Life, uh, again, my philosophy on life is life becomes as complicated as you make it. And I don't want my life to be complicated. I just don't.
Hmm.
I don't have the bandwidth to add a bunch of extraneous crap on top of me because
Hmm.
I just don't have it. And I know that. So I don't want it. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, I've got a problem, Don't bring me the problem, bring me the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Say, okay, hey, here's what happened. Here's how we're going to fix it. Here's what it's going to take to fix it. I'll think it through and go, okay, go do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want you to bring to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to come to me and say, I couldn't finish this. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
That drives me freaking nuts. And that's not just in business, that's in life. If you can't
Yes.
get something fixed, figure out how to fix it. There's
Yeah.
so much available out there. Talk to somebody.
Yep.
You know, heck, with the internet today, just YouTube it or Google it or something.
I love the Michael Jordan. Stop. Get some help.
Yeah.
It's a great, one of the nicest things that I've run into on a lot of the jobs we're doing is the ability to stop and get some help. We have specialists who can repair things well. We have craftsmen in the craftsman community that we can bring in at any point and get something. You know, one of the stressors for job site management is, there's a growing skill set I have for avoiding disasters. Um, what do you do if there are, for example, wasps? What if there's a
Oh
big
my
paper wasp
Jesus
nest?
Christ.
I learned so much about what to do if there's a paper wasp nest on a roofing job, and it raised the priority. My crews who've been doing roofing installation for so many more years than I have ever done. I did some installation as a youth. Um, didn't know what I now know. You stop.
You stop.
You stop.
And Lou, we had talked
And
about
you bring
that.
in a specialist.
Yeah.
You bring in an exterminator. But when I learned on that job that I have the ability, I have the authority to stop a job for the sake of safety and bring in a specialist to take care of, in that case, the bees, right?
Yep.
Simple things like that. I feel all the time working with forward-thinking entrepreneurial people like you, like Aaron. I bring you guys a problem. I want to run by you how you'd like me to handle it, and you guys have. I've worked with reactive people all my life, people who feel like life is happening to them, and you bring a problem to them, and it just is this disaster. Bring a problem to you guys, and it's almost gamified. It's almost gamified where it's like, oh cool, all right, well here's a solution. Find someone to help you. Here's a solution. And it's not just try this, try that, which is a road to insanity. But and what's neat is, I've been doing this for a minute, and we just had a place where we wanted to save a customer a bunch of money, and we we tried something. It didn't work. And so then we tried another thing, and it worked. And at no point in that process was there any energy of, oh, what are we going to do? It was chill. It was forward moving at every point of that. Um, it was great. And we had a customer who also saw us being that way and enjoyed that energy too. And I
Yeah, it's
that's rare.
what most people don't understand when they start a business, run a business, own a business is that people or your clients are going to understand if you communicate. It's when you try to run and hide or you try to just pull the wool over their eyes that never works right. People, there's an innate part of human nature is the you want to help people. So if you go to your client and say, hey, here's what happened, I apologize, we're going to fix it, we're going to help you make it right, they they understand that. It's when you don't communicate with people, and this is about relationships, this is about anything. You've got to communicate. And what I've found, I've made those mistakes where
Hmm.
earlier in my career where we might have done something, and you just you just like pray no one's going to find it.
Hmm.
Now we just don't do that. I had a situation with in my HVAC company. I had a gentleman was pulling an AC out, and he did it in a way that the AC was fine, but he took the old AC through the driveway, and there were parked cars, and he scratched a car. with the air conditioner.
Yeah.
And what am I going to do about it? But
I remember when that happened.
well,
I was on site here at the office when that was being discussed, and it was remarkable to me because I guess the mileage was already under you'd already put down the mileage in enough businesses to know things like this happen.
it was a it was truly a dumbass mistake.
Yes.
He learned from it. I just paid the bill yesterday. It was $1,000 to fix this guy's car.
Mm-hmm. That's going
And
right.
even though there were a bunch of other scratches on the car, he
Mm-hmm.
would probably never known we had done anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not the way we do business. So went to him, told him, "Hey, you get it fixed, I'll pay for it."
Mm-hmm.
And he did. He got half his car painted.
They have to
But
blend it.
oh
It
yeah,
does. It
this
has
whole
to be
BS,
blended.
but whatever. So we
Yeah.
took care of it. But there were so many more scratches than the car might not even been worth $1,000.
See, that's why we should
Um,
get Solution Roofing stickers made because you just slap one of those bad boys over
it
a
was
scratch.
crazy, but that's you just got to do that, and you can't yell at the guy, you can't fire the guy. You just
No, because
explain to him
that guy is a wealth of future business. That
what,
technician who did that,
and he made a mistake. He just didn't think it through.
mm-hmm,
So you walk through the program, you make it a learning situation, and you're hopefully doesn't repeat it.
mm-hmm,
And then the long view of that is you're hopeful then you've got an employee that understands the companies behind them, and
yeah,
they will be an employee for life because you want people to stay with you. You don't want people to roll. We've dealt with clients. I do a lot of new construction on the roofing and HVAC side, and we'll show up to a job site and there's a whole new crew or a whole new crew. And like, what happened? Oh, I had to fire all those guys because they knew this, they knew that. So
mm-hmm,
instead of, again, teaching them how to do it, you expect them to know, and then you fire them when they don't. Instead of taking a little extra time and teaching what you want
mm-hmm.
done, and then you've built the crew you want.
And what's ironic about that teaching is over here, I've seen us we fire up the smoker and smoke a brisket, and I see the the rolling in in these just nice over a fresca or a slice of brisket conversations where you have people here who are you've gone and gotten people. Well, first of all, you have one crew in your HVAC that they just know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's of inestimable value. You have another guy that I know in your HVAC that is you can't teach that kind of conscientiousness. Um, his all of his faults lie in being slow because he wants to do it right. Analysis paralysis.
He gets
And
caught up in it.
you
He
can
does.
get a guy out of his head soup by giving him confidence. And he is the one who scratched that car, and he learned from that he has people standing behind him that aren't going to abuse him for mistakes made and who recognize his value beyond the cost. And that kind of there's people get I don't believe that companies are families. I don't like that. That's one sign that you need to leave your tech job is when they start talking about themselves as your family.
I'm not your family, but
No, but we are. There is such a thing as a company culture.
oh, that I completely agree with.
Yeah, there's a culture in a company, and Aaron is actually quite good at recognizing culture and trying to grow it. He's young in it. I'm old hat in recognizing cultures and working in them and seeing where I can plug in to contribute. Um, and I just see that you're you know you've started so many just the fact one thing I think of for the listeners is just the fact that you said, man, HVAC is a cool industry, looks like you can make good money, I'm going to start an HVAC business. And then with a minivan and one technician that you began to do the work,
Yep.
offer the service, do the installs, and you built and rolled up to multiple trucks, fully equipped, multiple technicians, and then you met Aaron at a trade show, and and you started a roofing company, a good one.
Yeah, we're pretty
That's
darn good at it.
we're doing great work, and we're having a blast. And now I'm seeing that Aaron is learning how to bring on um, sales folks to multiply the number of good things we can do. And it's just, it's interesting. And I think it's not just interesting, I think it's a missing component in a lot of people's lives. They get kind of in a rut.
Absolutely.
They get in a rut. They feel like the only possibilities that exist are formed from only the things they have already. They're constantly combining only the things they already have instead of thinking beyond the existing components into
So
a new thing.
the first thing that pops in my head when you say that is it's the woe is me.
Absolutely.
And that just again, I I can't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit there. I'm not going to wallow in crap with you because I believe there's no reason to, and everyone, uh, you know, you can do it. And I feel like instead of deciding that we want to do it, we look at why we can't do it. And because it's easier, right? It's easier because you can get a whole gang of people or a whole game of gang of an online whatever room or a community that will be so negative. And look at what you see in the press and what you
Mm-hmm.
read every day. It's all negative, negative, negative. I just think we need to change that paradigm
Yeah.
and take a positive approach to this. And I think a lot of things would change if we just went out there and really that kindergarten thing, just try to be, nice and kind. What's wrong with just being nice to people? I mean, is it that hard just to be nice
It's easier.
and not rip on people? And you know,
Okay.
okay,
I would say it's not an what's hard about it is breaking habits. That's what's difficult about um,
we need to change
kindness.
our culture that you know of I feel better because I make you feel worse, and that's what we got to change. Look at and again, I've got teenage kids,
Mm-hmm.
and I look at the online stuff, and it's all about the likes, and it's all about the online bullying, and look at all these people these kids that have committed suicide
Yeah.
because of negative comments online, because these people didn't have, I'll say, the balls to confront them in person.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't, or not talk to them in person, or not even know them. I mean,
And
we don't know who these people. I don't
and
know.
people aren't equipped with the wherewithal to recognize that someone who says something about you without being present,
Is a coward.
that
I'm
doesn't
telling you right now, they're cowards.
matter. I'm still involved in skateboarding. I'm a sponsored rider for Life Skateboards, and I'm also the marketing manager for Life Skateboards. And we have this. We've got to evaluate an opportunity. Someone wants to do a big documentary on Life Skateboards,
Cool.
which is a fine opportunity. It's the holiday season. Life Skateboards is a family style, modest startup. So I've been asked if I would connect with the documentarian, blah blah blah. But we've got a guy out there who's a disgruntled former rep for Life Skateboards. He got a bad taste in his mouth during a period of time. He was a rep for Life Skateboards, so he'd get a box of boards. He would showcase them, promote the brand. Maybe he would sell the stuff he had, or he would promote online sales, which are just the best. From being out there, he was fairly influential in his community. So we bring on these reps and do that. Well, this guy, he has a bad taste in his mouth. He got disappointed by Life Skateboards. In retrospect, not without some blame that could be put on Life Skateboards for being a small startup that wasn't capable of the degree of attention and support that I think that he maybe should have had. Maybe not. All right. But with that said, this guy, he's got a big old chip on his shoulder, like way out, like will come on a like Life Skateboards advertisement post and we'll just start skeeling out these like big screeds of there and I was discussing this with the owner of Life Skateboards today, and I was saying, one thing we can tell as grown-ups is we can tell what matters and what doesn't. We can tell that uh, zero minds are being changed by
Oh,
so
it's just
much of what's going on out there. Um, there's a such a negative impact that can come from true defamation, true harassment. But kids can't tell.
No.
They can't tell, and these suicides and self-destructive patterns that kids have gotten into through the pressure they feel about likes and subscriptions and things like that. Kids aren't supposed to be able to tell the difference. There's, it's just a massive exposure
It's just
to
scary as
something they're
hell.
not ready to navigate.
It's just crazy.
And I don't
So,
think Congress should be the ones that fix it. I
well,
think
okay,
it's
this is
parents.
a good place to
It's
probably,
it's parents, man.
yes,
Yeah.
we can probably wrap this one up and then get into that, because
You know what?
now you're getting my blood pressure up.
Actually, maybe we'll put a pin in it there, and we might take up on that when I upload this. So just I have my doubts that many listeners are used to these changes in formats. We may find new audience through new format, new topic, and things
Sure.
like that. But I'll be returning to um, my skateboard stuff, and I'm actually going to start introducing episodes into my podcast that are for sinners only. They're going to be digests from my Friday meetings. I
Okay.
have a Friday night Bible studies that is
Nice.
it's nuclear. It's it's definitely letting the Bible say what it actually says, no matter how much damage it does to the American church forms and cultures that there are. And so, um, Luke, my podcasting partner, is stepping out of the podcast for a season. He's got a new baby
Yep. It's got a
and
lot going
lots
on.
of life going on, and I couldn't support him. I'd be supportive of him being in there because Luke really makes a podcast happen. But Luke has gotten the podcast to where he can give me the tools he's created very easily. So I'll be starting to do more of my content face to the camera in my office and like that. And Todd, you and I are going to continue to explore. I know I'm not because you and I might actually start a new podcast and take on some of the. I'm not. There's a wealth of. I have a big interest in curiosity level, learner level, engaging the entrepreneurial journey. I'm 50. I feel a bit world weary. I've always worked for people, even with you guys. I just work for you guys. I came here just wanting you guys to plug me into something. I could give my contribution, be part of your success, and earn wage and like that.
But you're not just
No, I have
you're not just a paycheck. So I
more
hope
to
you understand.
offer.
You
Yeah.
understand that. I mean, we acknowledge that, and we said we bring you in on things. We have conversations.
Well, I mean, I have a background in which I've done operations management consultancies, independent consultancies and things like that. But what I've not connected with is I haven't connected with people in business who want what I offer. I've also had people try to extract, and this is not necessarily said with like a scathing criticism of them, but they have not actually recognized that they're extracting value from me. They'd hire me in as a wage worker, but then they'd want to sit with me extra hours and to ask about how they could grow their business. And they would want to hear my insights on, I can see 3 things if you do right now are going to make a big difference. I can see 5 things if you do in the next 2 years are going to make a big difference. I've always had that view, and I recognized that they were pumping value from me um, that they thought they should have because I'm friendly.
You're pretty.
And it didn't gall me very badly, but it caused me to recognize, well, I need to trim in and see where I can plug in, where I can have
Well,
a little
let's.
better contribution,
I
and I
get you.
found that here.
Well, let's see
So
where this is going to take us, because I love sitting down with you. If we can develop an audience, or we can at least just do something where it's now sort of there, and
I want to do an episode on the Helix and Brothers ads,
hell yeah, we're gonna do all kinds of stuff. So
dude.
I know Luke had to take step out, so maybe you and I can fill some of that time
We will.
with us doing things, and then you're gonna get your Friday night going on with your sinners, and
We'll find our.
there'll be a lot of content, and we're just gonna have fun with it. And again, anyone that is watching this, if you'd like to see anything thing different again because it's a different style. What you and Luke were doing, some different topics. We'll talk about anything.
Dude,
I mean, we really will talk about anything. So you guys want to throw something out at us, let us know, and we'll discuss it.
there are these business gurus out there who talk their business shtick and like sell seminars and stuff. Yeah. Okay. So you know them better than I. And I'm like, if we did a podcast about business, for example, parsing the difference between morals and ethics, and parsing the difference when it comes to, like really cleaving that value between, okay, there's a person's value that's established, okay, metaphysically established, perhaps, and then there's the value that they have within their company.
Do we go overboard?
I don't know. It just stopped. Well, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to tag this in iMovie. We're going to call it a day here at the CapmLew podcast. Thanks for those of you who've watched. Appreciate you. And we'll be back with more content from the Upper Sanctum. And also, it's like 60 degrees in December.
It's awesome.
In Cincinnati.
We call that roofing weather.
Yeah, that's right. So, and I've got a roof going on. I think it's Tuesday.
We're doing one Tuesday.
Tuesday. That's the tentative right now. Hasn't been confirmed. We do have just to finish up that little bit. Yeah. A tree fell on a house, so there's a lot of carpentry that had to be finished before we could do this. I think
we're pretty much there.
It's exciting to see the repair happen.
Get one put on.
Nicest customers.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We'll be back at you soon. Who knows what'll happen?